This is the field of 68. I'm Vince Wolfram.
I'm Jojo Cavanagh in Auburn, Alabama. And this
is Straight Out the Jungle. Welcome back to Straight Out the Jungle. My name is Vince Wolfram.
And I'm Jojo Cavanagh.
And today in Lexington, the #1 ranked Auburn Tigers did something that they haven't done since 1988. That thing, win in the city of Lexington, Kentucky against the Kentucky Wildcats. They did it in a major way today, 94-78, and it was primarily led by Miles Kelly. And after the game, we were able to catch up with Chad Baker-Mazara, who, trust me, there's Miles Kelly, there's Janai, there's Tahad, all the content you'll need in just one interview. Check it out. How are we feeling? First time beating Kentucky in Rupp Arena since 1988. What's going through your mind?
Shout out to the DR, man. Shout out Chad Baker-Mazara, yo. Feel me? Shout out Tenso Domingo. You know what I'm saying? And shout out Oli. What's saying, Oli?
That's my brother today. But you know, it feels really good, especially because last year they beat us in college game day at the crib. So you know, I kept that in my head. So I had this game really checked out. Plus, you know, Lamonis in the team and Kobe, which are my boys, you know, play with them and against them growing up and, you know, in San Diego State. So, you know, there's a lot of mixed emotions because, you know, we won. So obviously we're happy, but at the same time I don't want to see my brothers lose. But, you know, in this game, somebody wins, somebody lose. So thankfully, thank God, you know, we was able to come in the winning side this time.
You walk away SEC regular season champs. How does that feel?
Feels great. Feels great because last year we didn't win it, so it was good to finally win one. We can check one off, but, you know, obviously job's not done. So now we got to go, you know, NCC tournament and win that one.
Yeah, everything seemed to be working on offense for you guys today. Miles, a huge day. What did you see from Miles?
You got to throw some water on that boy to cool him out because, boy, he was on fuego. Not fire, fuego. He came out there, you know, big time for us. He was hitting incredible shots. That's crazy. Look, that's crazy. I just said fuego, but, you know, he came out there, hit incredible big time shots, and, you know, we kept feeding him. You know, Tahad got on. You know, we kept feeding him. Even everybody, they just, you know, we all stick to the game plan defensively, and offensively we just had the boys like this one right here. The man, best freshman in the country. Excuse me. He never going to say that because he humble, but I got it. I can't.
This man right here is a bad, bad man. Bad, bad man. That's all I'm going to say.
The truth. But yeah, you know, just feeling incredible because, you know, the guys, we all stick to the game plan and, just, you know, execute it.
You guys are having fun, aren't you? You can tell the energy on this team is at an all-time high. What makes this so fun? What makes this group so much fun to play with?
I don't know. I seen on Twitter they call us the most unserious #1 team in the nation. But, like, you know, we know how to get serious, but at the same time, like, if you're not having fun on what you're doing, you're not really going to enjoy it. And, like, you know, we're trying to, oh, you're good. Nah, come here.
Hey, you see that? No,
hey,
champs, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Hey, boy. He's still hot. Damn. But that was the man right there. But, you know, how I say, we trying to have fun because once you have fun and you know how to divide when to be fun, when to be serious, we might have to work a little bit more on being serious. But, you know, we just coach allowed us to have enough fun where we enjoy what we're doing. I feel like why everybody come in the daily having fun, trying to, you know, get better. So that's big time.
Good vibes all over the place, and I know your game over the last couple has been much more controlled on offense. You've been seeming to be in more of a zone. What's been working for you?
One is March, and two, you know, been going to film. My dad helping me a lot, breaking down how I can score the basket in an easier way, and the coaches obviously helping me big time how I can get to my spots and, you know, just keep my head cool down and just, you know, keep going. Believing in myself.
Celebration on the bus is going to be pretty good, isn't it?
We were ready celebrating, boy. Yes, sir, but it's going to be great, you know, meeting everybody, being able to talk smack, enjoy the good, bad times, so it's going to be great, man.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. We appreciate you. The energy there, you can tell. Vibes are at an all-time high in this one, and I don't know what you could see or what not you could see on ABC watching from Auburn, Jojo, but the energy in this building, the fans were silent once Auburn sort of got that lead back in the last 10 minutes and they got that swagger to them. It was an electric game, and Auburn proved victorious in the end.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch from home for the first half and a little bit of the second half. And then for all of you Auburn fans listening that weren't in Lexington, you know that Janai Broom layup where the TV just went blue. I just thought it was my TV, had no idea what was going on. I'm like, I can't do my job if I can't see what's going on. So shout out to Andy Bertram and the courtside cam. Shout out to Vince Wolfram for FaceTiming me so I can do my job and see. I'm upset I missed Miles Kelly making his eighth three-pointer, his career high, and then his ninth to have 30 points. But this game was just insane. Auburn dominated throughout its entirety to clinch at least a share of the SEC regular season title. So with an Alabama loss tonight, Auburn wins it outright. But if Alabama wins, Auburn can then win it outright with a win in College Station. So brought my hat, the SEC regular season champ hat from freshman year when we won it with Jabari and Walker. So I had to bring it out for today because we just won it again.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I thought I saw that SEC Championships hat when you jumped on here. I was like, it's good timing. But no, Miles Kelly tonight, just unreal from beyond the arc. And in the first half, he was what was working for Auburn and consistently throughout the game knocked down shots when Auburn needed it. In a day that was kind of weird for Auburn offensively, I thought with how Janai Broom played in the absence of Denver Jones in the second half with foul trouble. Oh my goodness, I think it was the longest basketball game I had ever watched in my life. There was fouls constantly. Plenty of timeouts in the second half. I was joking with the person next to me. I said I thought that I guess somebody added 3 timeouts to each team, but because by the time it was over, I felt like there was 100 timeouts in this game. I don't know whether that was from the ABC dealio or what was going on, but it felt like a long game. And Miles Kelly, he was hot for a long time in this one.
He was incredible. Miles Kelly, 30 points, like I said. We kept bringing up Vermont 7 threes. It finally happened. First game of the season, a big game. Miles Kelly is a villain on the road, and where Auburn hasn't won on the road since 1988 and 88, and perhaps one of the toughest road environments ever, along with Cameron Indoor. Auburn comes in with the win with Miles Kelly shooting 9 threes. And it was a combined effort of Miles Kelly, Chad Baker-Mazara, and Tahad Pettiford. All of them having at least 20 points. Miles Kelly, 30. Chad Baker-Mazara had 22, and Tahad Pettiford had 21. And this was the first time since 2020 where Auburn had 3 guards shoot over 20 points. So in 2020, it happened when Auburn played LSU. And there was Samir Daughtry had 26, Javon McCormick had 23, and Devin Cambridge had 21. So I thought that was a fun stat that we haven't had this in 5 years. And Auburn managed to do it on the road in Rupp Arena. And it was led by none other than Miles Kelly. Every time he had the ball, you kind of knew it was going in. I know Bruce Pearl spoke out and said that he had a couple of shots that you didn't think were going to go in and then went in because they kind of, went off the backboard and then went in. But just overall, Miles Kelly spoke to the media after, and he said, we know that when we play a team away, a lot of their energy can come from the crowd. Being able to take them out of the game, it kind of killed their confidence a little bit. It was super important for us. We just did that the whole game and just brought up, this is why I came to Auburn. We're playing for a national championship. That's the end goal. And Bruce Pearl brought up, Miles Kelly told him this is the first championship he's ever won as a player in his collegiate career. So sealing that Auburn history, his own history, with 30 points and 9 threes. It was the Miles Kelly game by far.
Yeah, easily the Miles Kelly game. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about the fact that he hadn't won a championship yet, because with no ACC championships or regular season at Georgia Tech, and no berth to the NCAA tournament either from Miles Kelly. That will be a first in the next couple of weeks. But no, Miles was spectacular tonight. You talked about the bank threes. Depending on the bank, it might not have been open tonight. I guess the ones here in Lexington certainly were. Miles Kelly, cash money once he hit the glass. But he didn't need it on a lot of them, too. Like you said, he hit, 9 of them? Like, that's 27 of his 30 points were from distance. That's unheard of. That's Steph Curry-like numbers. And something I noted, too, in the conference schedule against opponents on the road in the SEC, Miles Kelly against ranked Georgia, he had 13 points. Against Ole Miss, he had 15 points. Against Alabama, he had 15 points. And at Kentucky, at one point in the game, he had 14. Marlene Maver tweeted. By the end, he had 30. This guy gets on the road, and when he does, he's danger, and that's for any opposing defense, conference or non-conference. We saw it at Duke. We saw it at home versus Vermont, but on the road, it's just you feel like the notch is taken up a little bit with Miles Kelly's play and just how much he does on the floor. He was the factor that was the most consistent for Auburn tonight. Like I mentioned in the beginning a little bit, Johni Broome did not have his best game. He was 3 for 9, 0 for 2 from 3, 3 for 7 from the free throw line, finished with 9 points. Kind of just struggled to get going. But in a game like that, we've relied on Auburn has relied on its bench and its other players when Johni Broome isn't at his best or isn't having his best game. They certainly did that tonight. Miles Kelly being a big piece, Todd Pettiford as well, along with the other guards and bigs combined. In its entirety, the offense tonight was elite, especially from Miles Kelly's standpoint. But a guy coming in and stepping in like he did in a game where not everybody was playing their best for the Tigers was absolutely huge. And Miles Kelly, as simple as it can be, he was the biggest key to open the winning door for Auburn tonight.
Yeah, he started off the game, Auburn's first points with a 3, and then it just never stopped. The team was just like, feed Miles. He is hot, and he just made it in. And in a game where Johni Broome at halftime had 1 point from the free throw line and was 0 for 5 from the floor. In a game where Denver Jones gets hurt, well, we'll talk about in a minute, and does not play even in the second half. And just at halftime, Chad, Baker-Mazara, Miles Kelly, Tahad had 44 points. Kentucky's entire team had 30 points. So it was just halftime was led by Miles Kelly, all of them. Miles Kelly had 17 at halftime. Chad Baker-Mazara had 16. Todd Pettiford had 11. They all go on to score at least 20 points. Miles Kelly, 30. It was just the offensive night for Miles Kelly was incredible, making history, career high 9 threes. On the road, he talked to us. He loves being a villain on the road. Well, he most definitely proved it tonight.
And the guards for Auburn had an interesting day, and a night where Denver Jones goes down in the second half. He told me he got kicked in the ankle and didn't feel right after that. And coming into the second half, a couple of Auburn people said he's going to try to play. And in the second half, we did not see Denver Jones. He had the shoe untied the majority of the second. And then when I saw him after the game, just outside the locker room, he said it's a bone bruise. He's all right. He's feeling okay. But those things, they're never easy to deal with. They're just kind of those annoying injuries. So Denver Jones, hopefully a quick recovery for him. But I wondered how much Auburn would struggle in his absence. And there was a certain freshman that stepped up in a big way in not only the first half, but the second half as well, that I felt controlled the upbeat pace of Auburn, both scoring and on defense as well.
Todd Pettiford he stepped up with, like you said, Denver Jones out. We hadn't really seen a game with Denver Jones being hurt. And Todd Pettiford spoke about it to the media. He said, knowing Deuce, who's Denver Jones, was going down, I was just having to step up as a freshman. I was prepared. Coach puts us in situations like this, so when the time presented itself, I was ready. And that says a lot coming from a freshman, having to step up in the point guard position in a game where Auburn hasn't won in Kentucky in basically a freaking century. And he steps up, scores 21 points. Defensively, you're worried. Denver Jones is the best defender on Auburn's team along with Dylan Cardwell. And Denver Jones guards Kentucky's best guard. Luckily, Kentucky was in some foul trouble with their players. Jackson Robinson didn't play. But to not have Denver Jones as a defender on the floor, Todd Pettiford stepped up offensively, obviously, with over 21 points. And then defensively was able to also make an impact with Denver Jones not playing.
Yeah, and I thought when Kentucky put Travis Perry in the game in the first half, and he was guarding Todd Pettiford, that guy, he stood no shot. Really, realistically, just stood no shot, and that's when Tahad kind of got it going. And outside of Lamont Butler, I think Tahad, Miles, and sort of the swing guards too, Chad Baker-Mazara, there was a lot of quickness that was added by the Auburn guards that was greater than that of Kentucky's. Outside of Lamont Butler, he was right on par with those guys running up and down the court. But I thought that's where Tahad made his money tonight, was on the floor, getting that first step. He had a couple that he got right to the cup at, and he got a couple where he did his step back, where he creates so much space. A James Harden level of space on that step back, and he nailed the threes. He was big tonight, and I thought on defense he was pesky too. Got his hands in a lot of passing lanes, tipped a lot of passes, was frustrating because of his quickness to these Kentucky guards like Perry, like Owe. A lot of these guys couldn't really get past Pettiford and the guards, including Chris Moore, another good defensive performance from him. But Tahad, I thought overall, I think the last game really helped him too. The last couple where he hasn't found it offensively, he's almost had to inherently teach himself how he can most impact the game in other ways. And you saw a full, complete game from Todd Pettiford, being an addition of the points that he scored, like at Houston on the road, or the assists like he did in the last one. Put that whole thing together, and that's the performance that you got tonight from Pettiford. A couple assists, 21 points. I just felt like his impact on the game was beyond just scoring, like Bruce thought about when Tahad was coming into Auburn, that he would be that scorer that he needed. I thought Tahad was much more than just that tonight.
Coming off, we've been talking about his offensive slump. Against Arkansas, he had 4 points, Georgia 2 points, Ole Miss 4 points. Yet it made a 3 since the Arkansas game. So it was 2 games. Tonight, he makes a 3, scores 21 points. So obviously, we knew that offensive slump was going to eventually come to an end, and it comes to end in a dramatic fashion in Lexington. But to me, 21 points is extremely impressive. But the most impressive part to me of Todd Pettiford's game tonight is 0 turnovers. To step in when Denver Jones is out in the starting point guard position in the second half, to be able to have, I think, 4 assists was it, and then score 21 points, facilitate the ball, score, defend when Denver Jones is out, and have 0 turnovers while doing that. As a freshman, when the lights are so bright, starting point guard gets hurt, you step up. It was just 0 turnovers from Todd Pettiford is huge in a game like this.
We'll keep going on the episode by episode trend of texting ourselves here. I texted myself in the second half. Tahad Pettiford got going. Travis Perry just can't guard him. Kid's got too much juice. Could be in for a big one the rest of the way. And then I said the same in the second half. There's just too much firepower under that kid. And like we mentioned, he got in the assist category tonight. Got some other guys going as well. I think we can take it to the guy that we talked to first here on this program, Chad Baker-Mazara. Another complete game from him. So he's lacing together a couple of big complete games tonight. Played almost 30 minutes, shot 50% from the field, hit free throws, which was huge, especially in a game where Auburn didn't shoot free throws all that great, I thought, which and I Broom struggles at the line and others as well. Chad obviously shoots a very, very high percentage, so a great night for him from the line. But also, I know he had fouls, but 3 steals I thought was the big piece from him. Defensively, he's taken a leap. He's gone leaps and bounds over the last couple of months, just being able to find himself in passing lanes, to pressure defenders, use that length that he has as a 6'8" guy with arms at his knees to use his arms and to use his physical capabilities to capitalize on the court on defense. I thought he certainly did that tonight. He was pesky in that when Kentucky was throwing the ball in, he was guarding their man or coming back to try to pick the ball. He did that a couple of times, got steals and points off of it, as well as a behind-the-back pass that I wish Janai would have finished. That would have been pretty sweet. But overall, I thought a very good game from Chad Baker-Mazara, and it's good to see him put a couple consistent ones together as we wrap up the regular season here.
Bruce Pearl said Chad Baker-Mazara might be our most valuable player. Hearing your head coach say that must be incredible for Chad Baker-Mazara to hear. And tonight it was very relevant. He had 22 points, and there were, I think that one play that really spoke to me was in the first few minutes of the game where Chad Baker-Mazara, it was off the inbounds pass. Chad Baker-Mazara reads the play immediately, jumps in front of the ball, gets the steal, and immediately makes a layup. Like you said, there was that other steal that he had where Janai Broom kind of missed the bunny. Like we said, not the best offensive performance from Janai tonight. But Chad Baker-Mazara, whether it was with 3 steals, whether it was 22 points, there was in circumstances where Auburn could not shoot the basketball, you need individual playmakers. And I think that describes Chad Baker-Mazara perfectly. When you can't find someone to pass the ball to, when you can't find a shot for yourself to take, he somehow he makes something out of nothing. And I think that describes Chad Baker-Mazara to a T. And I think that's why Bruce Pearl said he's our most valuable player. He makes something out of nothing and is an individual playmaker. When you can't find another shot, Chad Baker-Mazara is going to somehow scramble something together. And I think that was really relevant in tonight's game.
You said Bruce Pearl said he believes Chad Baker is what I forget what you said now. One of the biggest pieces on the team.
Our most valuable player.
Most valuable piece. You said the word believes. That was something that jumped off the page to me in this game. At one point in the second half, Chad Baker gets a steal and off of a Kentucky inbounds pass. Ball goes out of bounds. Stephen Pearl hyping up Chad Baker-Mazara, and Chad looks, he says, I got you. Believe in me. That was a cool, I got chills because from a guy that's gone through so much to get where he's at, and to be playing as well as he has been on defense in these last couple of games, that was cool. And I don't even know that he need to say it because I think his team does believe in him. But for him to know it and say, believe in me, we good, we got it, that I thought was pretty cool and awfully telling about the confidence of not only Chad, but the guys on the bench and the coaching staff especially.
I want to go to the coaching staff on this because Bruce Pearl brought it up, and so did Miles Kelly. The scout of Kentucky, and this is kind of going to lead into Auburn's defense, which scoring 94 points in itself. Offensively, Auburn had a great game, but I think defense is what won Auburn this game. And that was because of the scout. So Bruce Pearl spoke out and said, a lot of Stephen Pearl is my defensive coordinator. Mike Burgomaster is my offensive coordinator. So if you haven't seen both of our interviews with those guys yet, you should check those out.
In.
And he said Mike Burgomaster, he had the scout. Those two guys put together an unbelievable game plan. Taking the 3 ball away from Kentucky was so very important. So I just wanted to bring up, shout out to Stephen Pearl and Mike Burgomaster, because defense and offense combined is what won us this game. But just taking away the 3 ball from Kentucky in particular, for a Kentucky team that is its identity is shooting 3, Kentucky was 4 for 17 from 3. Auburn was 12 for 26. Granted, Miles Kelly had 9 of those, but Kentucky 4 from 17 from 3. And at halftime, Kentucky only had 1 3. And I also wanted to bring up turnovers. In the second half, there was one point where Kentucky, there were 6 possessions. There were 6 turnovers to start the second half. Auburn had, hold on, let me look at this. Auburn forced 18 Kentucky turnovers. 18 Kentucky turnovers. And it was just the defense of this game, taking the 3 ball away from Kentucky, forcing turnovers, making points off of those turnovers too. Kentucky had 9 points off of turnovers. Auburn had 21. That is a huge differential. So shout out to Burgo and Stephen Pearl for that scout, really just being able to take this Kentucky team, take their identity and throw it out the window and have them try to scramble up a game plan. And obviously it didn't work.
No, it didn't, and Auburn's did. In fact, I kept hearing them say from the bench, wall up, because this Kentucky team, outside of, I would say, Lamont Butler and Kobe Brea, is very, very drive and paint focused. What wall up means is a guy like Dylan Cardwell or Janai Broom, be straight up. Cause those guys to go elsewhere. I thought they did a very good job of that tonight. I know Amari Williams ended up with, I think, 13 points. I thought his impact on the game offensively would have been a little more. He runs the point a little bit for this Kentucky team, but I thought Auburn did a pretty good job of walling up, keeping guys out of the paint for the most part. There was a couple little lapses in fast break defense where I thought Kentucky's speed, the speed of Lamont Butler especially, kind of beat Auburn. Auburn didn't get back in time. They didn't have a big in the house to try to stop Lamont from breaking in and getting a basket. But I thought he was a big piece that kept Kentucky in the game in that first half from that 12 to 6 minute mark. Auburn had gotten out to that early lead brought to you by Miles Kelly, and Kentucky kind of answered. They sort of clawed back in slowly but surely, but I thought just the physicality of this game was intense, obviously just by the number of fouls. Goodness gracious. But I thought that Auburn's bigs did a good job. I know they got into foul trouble. A lot of them were chippy, little tiny fouls, especially Dylan's his 4th one coming right at the start of the second half. I thought they did pretty decent job, especially against Andrew Carr, against guys like Amari Williams. Even when Otega Owe, outside of the first couple drives he didn't really see the paint very much in the second half. I think the only exception would be Lamont Butler. He did a pretty good job of attacking, but Colin Chandler didn't get anything. Brandon Garrison he only made one shot, and it was a free throw. So tough to generate offense, I think, for this UK team, primarily because of Auburn's ability to wall up and protect their paint.
If you had told me coming into this game that Otega Owe and Janai Broom would not have double-digit scorings, I don't think I would believe you.
I wouldn't either.
Otega Owe having 4 points. This was because he only played 20 minutes because he was in foul trouble for the entirety of this game. But that is Kentucky's leading scorer. He averages nearly almost 18 per game. He is the player that kind of revolves around that. Mark Pope likes to revolve around this offense. He had 28 against Oklahoma last week and 18 of those 28 in the final 10 minutes of the game. Granted, that was against his old team, so you kind of felt like that firepower, but still, to go from having 28 and leading your team to victory to having 4 at home, and you're the leading scorer on this team. So I think, granted, it was foul trouble was 90% of that huge factor, but when he was in the game, Auburn was able to kind of lock him down, was able to get fouls called on him.
Defensively, not only were the fouls a big piece, but I honestly thought Auburn played a little quicker than they usually do. You look at the fast break points. Auburn outdid Kentucky by 12. Auburn had 22 fast break points, and being fast is something that Bruce Pearl has talked about. His team likes to play fast, now not too fast. That's when they get out of control, but in this one I thought they were playing controllably fast. That's the difference, I think. Forcing 18 turnovers, like you said. Scoring 21 points off of turnovers is a huge thing. And Kentucky, 18 turnovers. I'm looking at that, kind of can't believe it, because they've been just a consistent, solid ball club all year long, and they haven't had a game like that where they've turned the ball over 18 times. They haven't had games where they've gotten skunked like they did tonight, and they didn't shoot the ball well, and they turned it over. One thing I was surprised by, I guess in the end, was the rebounding battle. Auburn, we've said it continuously all year that you win the boards, you win the game. Well, maybe an exception can be made for tonight in their big win, because 23 total rebounds for Auburn on the night, 38 for Kentucky. And size certainly was a difference maker. I think in limiting Janai Broom, he struggled with Amari Williams. Just the pure length and height of him sort of caused Janai some troubles. But it proves once again that Auburn is beyond a certain thing. They're not it's never going to be a singular factor with Auburn. That's been the mantra all year. Win the boards, you win the game. Not so fast. When Janai doesn't have the game, or Dylan's in foul trouble the majority of the game, Chaney in foul trouble too, you have to rely on some other stuff. And you might have lost the boards tonight, but you win 94-78. That's awfully telling about just how not only deep, but talented in so many different areas that this Auburn team is.
You mentioned losing the rebounding battle, but then completely forcing 18 turnovers for Kentucky. And Mark Pope spoke about that after to the media and said it was more of a manifestation of feeling sped up. And I feel like when you were watching this game, you noticed that when Auburn was switching up their defense, Kentucky had no idea what to do. They were keeping them away from beyond the arc, the three-point line. They were making them drive to the basket. And it was just Kentucky didn't know what to do, and they would just have silly turnovers. And Mark Pope spoke up about the team's kind of lack of energy today and said, would love to make an excuse there, but ultimately it falls on my shoulders. And you have to give Auburn credit for putting us in a spot where we let frustration mount. I failed as a leader today. And I think him saying Auburn putting us in a spot where the frustration mounted was Auburn switching up their defense, was them keeping them from beyond the arc, was them forcing those turnovers. It was Kentucky was frustrated. They were 6 possessions, 6 turnovers to start the second half where you're down at home. Kentucky was extremely frustrated, and that was one of the best things that Auburn did today, was frustrate this Kentucky team to the point of forcing 18 turnovers.
I think the most frustrating part, and I know this frustration can be felt in many ways. Think about, like, if you have a test and the other smartest person in the class, you get your test back first and you got a 98, and the person who's the second highest in the class gets their test back and says, I got 100. That's kind of how it felt tonight for Kentucky. They would score. They would get a couple Berea threes. Miles Kelly would answer with a couple more. It felt like every time Kentucky felt like they responded, Auburn said, not yet. And they had an answer for just about every run Kentucky had, whether that run be a 4-point swing when the energy in this building sort of lifted, or whether they got a stop or they got a steal off of Auburn. Auburn had a response to just about every run. It was almost like they put a stop, like that frustrating piece. Oh, my goodness. Where, God, everything we were doing great, they're just matching us. And that's a frustrating feeling, especially for a coach that had a game plan that, for one guy in particular, a National Player of the Year level guy, your game plan worked. For almost everyone else, the game plan did not work. And that's bound to be a frustrating feeling that you solved one problem and you still did solid on that, but you failed the other thing. And that, I'm sure, is eating at Mark Pope. And probably is something, too, that Bruce Pearl recognizes, like, his team he knew his team could step up, but they could step up in this is a way they hadn't seen yet. We hadn't seen Johni Broome have a game like this. They can step up in new ways, and they're learning in this process, growing constantly, depending on how the game goes and what the matchup is. But throwing defenses at this Kentucky team certainly confused Mark Pope's group.
I think the two things that make this team the number one team in the country is, you just touched on runs. Whenever you felt like Kentucky, Kobe Brea would shoot a 3, Miles Kelly would shoot 2 back-to-back. And then I think the second thing is, we talk about this all the time, but it was really prevalent in tonight's matchup, was the depth of this team. Kentucky had 5 bench points compared to Auburn's 29 bench points.
Goodness.
Isn't that crazy? But just thinking about this, we've talked about this when Johni Broome was out and couldn't play. In the Mississippi State game, it was Chad Baker-Mazara and Chaney Johnson. And when Johni Broome is out, Chaney Johnson steps up against Georgia State. And we talk about this all the time, how it could be anyone's night. Well, this, you almost have the entire team available except Denver Jones getting hurt. And Johni Broome has 9 points and he's available, but you see this team step up. Miles Kelly goes for 30. Chad Baker-Mazara goes for 22. Tahad Pettiford goes for 21. Chris Moore, when he's in the game, he has 5 points right away.
Tonight.
Was great defensively, shoots a 3, and then right away makes another layup. 5 straight points from Chris Moore. Chaney Johnson didn't have the best night either. Offensively, had 3 points. So if you would have told me coming into this game, Denver Jones would get hurt, Johni Broome wouldn't score double digits, Chaney Johnson wouldn't have a good game, I'd be like, oh, Dylan Cardwell has 0 points. I'd be like, wow, Auburn's guard play stepping up. It is the depth of this team that even when Johni Broome's in the game, you have so many other players come together and win at Lexington. I can't get over the depth of this team. The depth of this team is what could take Auburn to a Final Four. It's what led Auburn to win a regular season championship. Is you don't know whose night it could be. And I can't imagine trying to scout Auburn, right? Because Mark Pope and team trying to scout and lock down Johni Broome, who did not have a great offensive night, but then you have to try and scout and lock down Chad Baker-Mazara, who is crazy all over the place. Like I said, an individual playmaker. So he must be hell to try to lock down and try to game plan for. But then Miles Kelly, how do you lock him down beyond the arc? How do you try to lock down Auburn in the paint with Chaney Johnson, Johni Broome, and Dylan Cardwell, while also trying to keep Miles Kelly, Chad Baker-Mazara, and Tahad from beyond the arc? There's just so many different skill sets for all of these players, and the depth within that is just, it's why this is the number one team in the country, and it was really proved tonight.
I felt, too, that Mark Pope may have had his hands tied when he found out Jackson Robinson wasn't playing. And from Auburn's standpoint, took advantage of every last second without that dude. Miles Kelly and Chad Baker-Mazara would have been the 2 matchups for Jackson Robinson. That really hurt Kentucky. I don't know how you scout for it without that guy, a guy that's been in and out of the lineup over the last couple of weeks. And Auburn has struggled with, or Kentucky had struggled previously guarding those 2 and 3 man guys without Robinson. So they need Barea to step up over the next couple of weeks if they want to keep that run up. And one more thing defensively. Listen to this. John Fanta tweeted this in the middle of the game today. He said, we talk about how potent the Tigers are offensively, but the fact that they're in Lexington today and just went 11 minutes without giving up a made field goal to Kentucky, that's insane. 11 minutes. 11 minutes without a made field goal. Just free throws. That's crazy. 11 whole minutes defensively. That proves exactly as an overarching theme of what Auburn's defense was tonight. 11 minutes for Kentucky without a made field goal. Nuts.
Yeah, Kentucky ended the first half not scoring besides free throws the last 7 minutes and 21 seconds. And then, like I said, second half, that leads to 11 minutes because in their first 6 possessions, they have 6 turnovers. Auburn's offense scored 94 points led by their guards, and then Auburn's defense shut down Kentucky beyond the arc and just shut down Kentucky in its entirety. It was a perfect combination of offense and defense tonight that led to this win. And like I said, the perfect scout plan from Burgo and Pearl. And it was just a coaching effort. It was a team effort. It was a great team win that led to history for Auburn winning a share of the SEC regular season title. Dylan Cardwell becoming the winningest player in Auburn men's basketball history. There were so many wins tonight, and first time since 1988. You can't help but smile and be so excited.
No, Chad Baker-Mazara was 38 when Auburn last beat Kentucky in Lexington. He was old as can be. I'm kidding. He wasn't that old. He's just 25.
They probably said that on Twitter.
Yeah, I think he said it before we went live there. I was like, that's a pretty good win there for a 40-year-old guy coming in there. First time in a while, right? And he bust out laughing. He was like, right. But no, certainly a great win. I think the morale of this team and the energy is so high. I think they're the most unserious, serious team in college basketball. After a win like this, they're celebrating. They're talking to the Auburn faithful who took their way from probably the rafters of this place. These seats aren't cheap. Came all the way down courtside to celebrate with this team in their SEC regular season championship victory today. And I know they got the hats, they got the shirts, and it always feels like a championship when that stuff happens. But I think they have to try their best to not look past the next two. I think the next two will tell a lot based off what's to come for this team and what we can look forward to. They got A&M at home on Tuesday, or away at Texas A&M in College Station on Tuesday, and Alabama at home at Neville Arena that Saturday. They can't overlook those games. They can't dwell too much on this win. Not only winning at Kentucky, winning the SEC, no games off, no days off, no practices off, I think has to be the message for Bruce Pearl and his team going into next week.
I just don't see this team letting this get to them. Bruce Pearl right away says, this will put some wind in our sails. I promise you, won't let the success get to us. Todd Pettiford saying, that's why I came here to win. He just kept saying, one more. That's just one. That's just one. That's just one. That's one championship. Miles Kelly saying, we want the national championship. So this is kind of just like this stepping stool.
Love stepping school.
I can't even speak right now. But this is just, I'm not even going to say that again. This is just one step to leading to a national championship. It's the SEC regular season title. There's still the SEC tournament. There's still the NCAA tournament, but this is just a share of the title right now. So if Alabama loses, Auburn clinches it, but then you still have 2 more games where you can still clinch the outright. So I'm not really worried about these guys just taking this as a, we won a championship already. We're kind of done out there. I went on Chad Baker-Mazara's live and Todd Pettiford. They were live in the locker room. The first thing I hear in the background was, I'm 99% positive it was Uncle Mo, Simo's voice. And it was just, that's just one more, we got a lot more work to do. And it was just all of them saying that, like, they're all like happy, repping the gear, they're calling God, but they're just like, this is just one step. Like, there's still so much more work to do. And so I'm not scared that this win is going to set this team over. I do think these next 2 games, I think at Texas A&M on Tuesday is going to be a tough one. And then obviously Alabama, when you beat Alabama in Coleman Coliseum, they're going to come into Neville Arena and want to beat you in your building. So having these next 2 games against 2 really, really, really good teams is going to be a bit of a struggle, but there's still a lot more games to play. And I'm not scared of like the effort of this team.
Today feels like, like when you're sitting in class and you're hungry, but you can't go get a meal and all you've got is a snack. So you just eat the snack. That's how it feels. It's like, all right, I got it. I'm good. We can eat dinner later. And that's kind of what this feels like. It's like they got a little bit of taste of it, but it didn't fully suffice. That national championship, that SEC tournament, that will be the meal for this team. And they do want to eat. And that's what the goal is. It's what the goal has been all season. Guys have told us that all year long. So I don't think that they think that this is like the end, like a so I guess the end in terms of overlooking the next two opponents, end of the regular season, I don't think they think that. I think they think that they're on the first step and they've got 4 more left to try to go and chase a national championship and give a run at that thing in March.
I can't believe I couldn't say stepping school. I heard you just say one step. I was like, I can't even.
1 step, 2 step, and we're going to step closer to getting those words right. It's all right.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna. I'm so happy for this team. I think they're gonna come back to Auburn. They're gonna be able to celebrate such a milestone, winning in Rupp Arena. It's the first time since '98, clinching a title. I think Bruce Pearl said in what was it, the 6th or 5th one in 8 years. Just history for Bruce Pearl, making history. They know that there's a lot of work to do, and I'm not nervous about. And to be honest, I think in years past, I've always thought, oh, just a championship. Yes, there's still a lot of games to play, but yes, this is it. And I just winning with Jabari and Walker and last year winning the SEC tournament, I don't remember having this feeling of okay, these guys are ready to go play these next few games and for the NCAA tournament. I feel that with this team, and it's not obviously any hate to these past teams, but this is the first time I feel like they're just one more and they're ready for the next one already.
I'm curious to know how Auburn fans feel right now. Do they think, oh, we won the SEC, a share of the SEC regular season? Or do they just not care? Because if it were me and I was a player, I know I probably wouldn't care that much. The SEC regular season probably wouldn't mean very much to me. And that's kind of how I think. The job is not finished. That's just kind of a nice little accolade to add to the resume, and it'll look nice when the season's over. But I think the team is sort of on the same page there. It's on to the next. That's what we're focused on, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to go try to win the next one, not look any past it.
I agree. And to be honest, I think obviously they're celebrating the SEC regular season title. I think they were celebrating winning in Rupp Arena more than the title.
I would agree, 100%.
Yeah, I know. We talked to our next guest, Dylan Cardwell, about this. Like I said, I think I mentioned this last episode, probably our longest interview with a player, but definitely one of the most fun with a lot of good content.
Dylan was awesome. He was a blast to have around and a blast to jump on the pod and give a lot of ISO shots too. So I think it's time that we toast this episode. A big win for Auburn in Lexington. What do we think here, JoJo? Toast of the day, who we got?
So I have one real toast and one kind of funny one. It's both with this game. I'm sorry. I'm picking both of my toasts for this game. I can't help it. I'm toasting to Miles Kelly. I feel like that goes without saying. I wish I was able to see his last 2 3-pointers. Hopefully I'm going to be able to, after this, and go on Instagram and be able to watch them because ABC took that away from me. I was really upset about that. And my second toast goes to Mark Pope's suit. So I don't know if any of you guys know this, but he came into the press conference and said as soon as he gets home, he's going to burn the suit that he wore for the game today. So I'm toasting to Mark Pope's suit.
Brother. That is, yeah. I mean, I thought you were going to say that it was a cool suit because I agreed. Didn't know that it would be no longer after today. I have 2 quick toasts. The first one, Chris Moore. Came into the game today, really, really made an impact, and he told us he gives his blood, sweat, and tears for Auburn. Well, he gave blood today by getting hit right in the mouth, and he had the blood going. I just thought it was perfect that he mentioned that. Shout out to Chris Moore. My second shout out to the awesome staff members at Eagle Eye TV that I was on FaceTime with when ABC went out. I was like, shoot, I got to keep my people in tune with what's happening here in Lex Vegas. So I just dialed them up, hit the group FaceTime, and propped it up against my leg. I couldn't hear you guys, but it was great to see you. I'm sure you probably heard me say this is the best day ever, just because I could spend it virtually with you guys courtside. I thought that was an awful fun time.
It was awesome. I remember I texted in our staff group chat. I was like, guys, I'm freaking out. I'm looking at stats and play-by-play right now, but how am I supposed to do my job and talk basketball to a group of people when I can't watch the game? So, and then Vince Wolfram calls up and I'm watching it. I'm watching it from Vince Wolfram's phone. It was awesome. So shout out Eagle Eye, our besties there. But I just realized I toasted to one suit and I forgot to toast to the resurgence of another. Rick Pitino in the white suit at St. John's. I'm toasting to suits tonight, baby. The death of Mark Pope's suit and the resurgence of Rick Pitino's suit. What a day.
Kentucky fans don't know how to feel right now. Rick Pitino's wearing suits again, and Mark Pope's done with them. So who knows what's going through the mind of Kentucky faithful right now.
It was awesome. I saw that and biggest smile on my face. So toast into suits tonight.
Plenty of good toast tonight, and I guess a toast to the city of Lexington that hasn't welcomed an Auburn win until 2025, March 1st, the beginning of the greatest month on the 12-month calendar year. It's going to be an awfully fun month. Today was awfully fun in Lexington. Auburn comes out with a 94-78 win over number 17 Kentucky. JoJo, any last thoughts before we jump off and call this an episode?
Today was awesome, and I'm not going to spoil anything. Like I said, we have the podcast with Dylan Carwell dropping, but me and Vince have a pretty exciting week, and you guys are going to get some incredible content. So just be on the lookout for that within the next 2 weeks. We have some exciting things planned for you guys, and we're really excited about them. But I wish I was in Lexington. I'm in Auburn right now. Went to Toomer's Corner, was able to see that for a bit. The Mardi Gras parade was kind of there too. So there was a lot of celebrations going on downtown. But Bruce Pearl made history. Dylan Carwell made history. Miles Kelly made history. So it was a good day. Can't complain.
I would argue that today was, in our next couple episodes, are TNT. Dynamite episodes coming your way. It's awesome stuff. My name is Vince Wolfram for this episode of Straight Out of the Jungle from Lexington, Kentucky.
I'm JoJo Cavanagh in Auburn, Alabama.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.